I spent the happiest years of my life in this forge. It's such a shame to see the old place just left like that to... Henry! Stop that. Come on, we still have to go to the market.
Looking for something, lad?
I was just...
You won't find nothing here no more. Best move along.
Forgive me. It's just that... I remember this forge from my childhood. When I was a boy, my pa, Martin, brought me here.
Wait, Martin? My husband had an apprentice called Martin. That was your pa?
He was my stepfather. But he raised me as his own.
That doesn't surprise me. Even as a lad, I could tell his heart was in the right place. How's he doing?
Unfortunately, he died.
I'm sorry to hear that. My God. Martin's adult son? Time really does fly.
He told me back then he spent the best years of his life here.
Aye, aye. Those were good times, true enough. What's your name, lad?
Henry.
I'm Magdalene. It's a pleasure, Henry. Care to come inside for a chat? I've a fresh pot of soup on the stove if you're hungry.
I can't refuse an offer like that.
Glad to hear it. Come with me, then. I'm glad you like it.
Just like Ma used to make.
Back when your pa used to apprentice here, my Skodder's forge was the finest in Kuttenberg. Only then out of the blue he fell ill and I lost him. Everything's been downhill since then. His apprentices left and the blacksmith's guild couldn't decide who to assign the forge to. Before they could make a decision, the forge's attic burnt down. I was visiting my sister in Visselkar at the time. She's with the Lord now too, poor thing. I was left here all alone, on jointure. This room is the only one that stayed unscathed for the most part.
Did Martin really not want to take over his own forge?
He was just a lad at the time, and taking over a forge is no easy feat. The guild has its own rules and who to assign it to.
Not only do I come from a respectable family, but a blacksmith's family too. You probably knew my father.
Oh? Where would I know him from?
From here. His name was Martin, and he used to be old Skoda's apprentice.
Wait, Martin? Your pa is Frisky Martin?
Frisky?
Aye, of course, Frisky. We used to call him that because, well, that doesn't matter. How's he doing these days?
I'm afraid he's no longer with us. He was killed during the raid on Skalitz.
Christ. I'm very sorry to hear that. When I knew him, he seemed like a good bloke, and quite a talented swordsmith. Some of the masters were good friends of his. They were the same age at that time. To tell you the truth, that will likely affect your chances as a contender. As Frisky's son, you'll have a great opportunity to make an impression. So you'd better make the most of it.
So, this is old Frisky's lad. I can hardly believe it.
Aber I do not see much of a resemblance.
Vielleicht ein wenig.
I do not see it.
Aye, aye. Frisky here, Frisky there. All that talk about not taking in outsiders, and now you've gone and flipped it all around. Martin was a good bloke and an excellent swordsmith. If Henry here is anything like him, he'd be a welcome addition to the guild.
Genau, genau.
Look, I didn't know this Frisky fella of yours. I'm more interested to see what the lad can do than who his pa was.
Why did they call Martin Frisky?
Truth be told, I don't know. Master Skoda came up with it, and it just stuck. He probably called him that because Martin was always hopping around full of ideas and never hesitated to act on them, whatever sort of ideas they may have been. We weren't terribly close, what with the age difference. But Martin had a bright future ahead of him. That much was clear to everyone in the guild. He could have become one of us one day. But for whatever reason, he chose another path.
I'd like to know something about Martin.
Of course, ask away.
What was Martin like when he was young?
He was a well-mannered boy. I didn't know him outside the forge, but by all accounts, he was quite a rascal. Word was, he never missed a chance for mischief. He was always betting on something. Even tried it on with my Skoda. He eventually talked him into a wager. I don't even remember what for. That he'd leap the brook down on Bach. He took a long pole and said he'd vault right over. It seemed like a clever idea, but the pole snapped in two, and poor Martin plunged straight into the water. Skoda called him Frisky from that day on.
How was he at the trade?
Better than good. He wasn't a complete beginner when he came. He'd trained under another master first. I can't recall where from. I think he brought a few sketches with him, which he showed Skoda, and the two of them tried to work something out. He wanted to become a swordsmith, and it showed. He really cared about mastering the craft. He spent a lot of time at it. My husband praised him for being able to think for himself from the very beginning. And he didn't hand out praise lightly, let me tell you that.
How did you get along with Martin?
He was no trouble. Ate whatever I cooked, helped out now and then when it was needed. He was a bit like a son to me, really. Although, he never wanted to talk about his family, where he was born, where he came from. No one could get it out of him.
Why did he end up leaving Kuttenberg when things were going so well for him here?
If only I knew. One day he was still here, comforting me, saying everything would be all right. And the next day, he was gone. Didn't even take his things. I asked after him at the guild, but no one wanted to say anything. I often wondered if he'd got himself into trouble somehow. But I never did find out what it might have been. And I doubt we ever will.
Well played. You play a lot better than your pa did. Frisky always had rotten luck at dice.
Really?
Aye, but he did more than all right for himself in other areas. You know what they say, unlucky at dice.
Wait a moment. I wanted to ask you about Martin. Did you know him well?
Of course I did. All the blacksmith's apprentices in the city knew each other. We were one big group, but it was different with Frisky. That was real friendship. The things I got up to with him and Fly. These days, nobody would believe me.
I hear he and Skoda tried to fix the astronomical clock.
Aye, everyone wanted to back then. But Frisky and Fly said they'd made some progress. But they could have just been yanking my pizzle.
Well, I don't think Martin was the type of person to joke about things like that.
I suppose you're right. I reckon if he was still alive, he'd still be trying to fix it.
What did you get up to together?
Ha! Things that aren't polite to talk about, lad. Girls, taverns, all sorts of nonsense. Maybe I'll tell you sometime, once we get to know each other better. But anyway, don't let me keep you. I'm sure you have your work cut out for you at the forge.
Good, good. But before we speak, I have to ask you something. And please be honest. Is Martin the blacksmith really your father, junger Mann?
Why'd you ask? Don't you believe me?
Ich möchte dir trauen, but I have a good memory for faces. And to tell you the truth, you do not resemble your father much.
Martin was the one who raised me and taught me the craft, but he wasn't my real father. You're right.
And you admit this freely, even while knowing the regulations forbid bastards from becoming members of the guild?
My father would vouch for me, were he still alive. He'd want me to carry on his legacy.
Well said. The wishes of the dead do indeed bear weight. Nevertheless, do not mention this to anyone else. Not everyone may be so understanding, and may wish ill upon you, Junge.
Are you Stander?
Who's asking?
Henry. I'm Martin's son. He used to apprentice with you at Skoda's forge.
Martin? Christ, I haven't heard that name in years. How's he doing these days?
I'm afraid he's no longer with us.
Ah, I'm very sorry to hear that. We used to be best friends.
So I've heard. Tell me something about Martin. You must have all sorts of stories.
I'm not much of a storyteller. You should ask Boris. He was always a bit of a blabbermouth.
I'd like to learn a bit more about Martin.
Did you know he once bet the fly he could climb all the way to the top of the fountain in Vintners?
He definitely didn't boast of that to me.
And he actually did it. But when he got right to the top, he slipped and smacked straight down into the water on his back.
Jesus.
Just a bit to the side, and he'd have cracked his head on the rim of the fountain. You probably wouldn't be standing here today. He was soaked like a water sprite. And then had to walk back to Master Skodder's, right past all the upstanding townsfolk.
And all that just for a bet?
The guards stopped him 5 times on the way. They really didn't believe he just wanted a refreshing dip. And in December too. That was a pretty daft excuse.
You said you'd tell me more about Martin later.
Well, what would you like to know?
When did you last see him?
At Skodder's funeral. Half the town was there. Sadly, I didn't manage more than a few words with him. He said he had to think over what to do next. And that was it. He didn't even say goodbye after that.
Why didn't he stay in Kuttenberg?
That's the real mystery. But I'd say it probably had something to do with one of the old guild masters.
Did Martin have enemies in the guild?
You could put it that way. Poor old Guildmaster Hollander. He couldn't stand Skodder, and he couldn't stand Martin either. I'd say he made sure Martin couldn't get hired anywhere in town. But that's just my guess.
Have you got another good story?
Once we went to a dance in Villani, and Martin took a shine to some girl there, a farmer's daughter. You know the type, straw in her hair, but because her pa owns the biggest fields, she acts like she's nobility. He asked her for a dance, and she turned him down. Said she wouldn't dance with a pauper. Most would have walked away, but Frisky wasn't like that.
What did he do?
He disappeared for a bit, said he was off to the privy, then came back and kept drinking like nothing had happened. And then, bang, the bailiff walks in and heads straight for Frisky. He bows right down and says, "My lord, you really shouldn't be wasting your time in a dive like this. What would your noble father say?" And Frisky says, "Get lost, you oaf, or I'll have you whipped. I'll do whatever I damn well please." The bailiff took off, and you could have heard a pin drop in that tavern. A moment later, they started bringing food to our table, plates of it, and beer too. That stuck-up little ninny ordered everything, just trying to get Frisky to notice her. But he didn't even glance her way.
Served her right.
We stuffed ourselves, got drunk as lords, and headed back to town with our pouches full of leftovers. We laughed all the way home.
How about another story?
In winter, we'd sometimes mess around on the frozen river branch behind the gallows. We'd bring some wineskins, light a fire, and just skate around for fun. And Frisky, always looking for something fun, found this bent stick and started batting a flat rock across the ice with it. Then he wanted to bet on who could hit the rock with the stick from a distance and land it between the bridge posts. You see what nonsense it was? I told him to get stuffed.
A bit like a little kid, was he?
That's right. But the fly really liked it. So he grabbed his own stick, they picked up some rocks, and they started a contest. Frisky won, of course. Even now, I still remember he hit the mark 68 times in a row. I have to admit, it was actually fun to watch. Shame the lads never did it again. Maybe it could have caught on here in the region as a local pastime.
Have you got another story?
Once, Skodder got into an argument with Hollander, and Martin took it a bit personally. He went up to the stream bank, found some rotting old crayfish someone had tossed out, and snuck into Hollander's house right up to his bed. He scattered them all over the bed, put a few under the blanket, under the pillow, then hid. He waited and waited. And that Dutch idiot actually laid down in it and cut up his back and arms.
Are you sure that's a good story?
Got no others, my friend. That was just before I saw Martin for the last time.
Thanks for watching another Dare to Game video. If you like this video, please leave a like and a comment. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you like my content and would like to support this channel, consider becoming a member today for as little as $1.99 a month. It makes a huge difference. But in any case, thanks for watching and have a nice day. I'll see you next time.